There's over 200 new construction communities here in the upstate. That means that new construction is extremely prevalent. Over 40% of the homes that are on the market are new construction. A lot of people are coming to me and wondering if they should be one of the first people to buy in a new construction community. If you're curious about the pros and cons of being one of the first people to buy in a new construction community, this is the video for you. Hi, I'm Evan Whaley, your favorite Greenville realtor. There are a lot of pros and cons to being one of the first people to buy in a new construction community. We'll talk about the pros first, but you're going to want to hang around for the cons to make sure you can handle everything that is entailed with being one of the first people to move into a community. When we talk about the pros, there are many amazing things about being one of the first people to buy in the community. The first of which is sometimes you can get better incentives because the builder really wants to get a jump start on that community and they really want to make sure they start selling some of the inventory that they're planning to build. Another pro is you might have the opportunity to pick the best lot in the neighborhood since no one else has picked theirs yet. Another big benefit could be that you get to move into the community earlier, so you really get to define what that community is going to look like. If you want to make friends with all of the neighbors, this is a great way to do so because you're really going to be one of the people that'll see everyone who moves into the community. Another thing that people really enjoy is if the community offers a lot of benefits like a pool or tennis courts or whatever it may be. You might have a lot less traffic there, so you might have a pool all to yourself. Another benefit is if the exterior is important to you, you'll have your first selection on how your exterior looks. A lot of builders have started putting modifications and regulations in place where there can only be a certain number of one type of exterior. Or it might be you can't have one, all white exterior next to another all white exterior. It has to be so many houses apart. So if the exterior is really important to you, that is a great benefit of being one of the first to move into a community. Something else that can be a great benefit is knowing that all the construction workers are going to be in your community for some time. So if you ever have any punch list items that you need to get taken care of, you're likely going to see your project manager and all of the construction workers there pretty frequently. So you're going to have a much higher likelihood of getting those taken care of compared to someone who buys towards the end of the community when they have to go through the warranty process and they have to go through multiple different channels to get in touch with somebody. Sometimes in the very beginning phase of a new build, some builders will use some higher end materials, especially when you're talking about the model, or sometimes that builder may even ask, hey, if on occasion we have someone that's interested in this particular model, would you mind if they come by the property? And that just could be a negotiation point for you to make sure that your house is as beautiful as possible, and you might get a little extra upgrades thrown in there because they're going to be bringing through some potential buyers to the community. Lastly, I think one of the greatest benefits of buying a new construction home and being one of the first people in there is that you potentially have the opportunity to see that community go through a lot of different price increases, helping increase the equity of your home pretty substantially from some of the things that I've seen in the last few years. Some builders can start at one price point, let's just call it $300,000, and they could be building that same model a year or two later for $350,000, $360,000, effectively making your house $50,000 to $60,000 more valuable. We talked about all the pros, and you're definitely going to want to know about what the cons are of being one of the first people to buy in a new construction community. Make sure you stick around to the end because I think the last tip that I'll share could be the most important. The first thing that I think you really need to know about, and something you might already be thinking about, is there's going to be a lot of construction noise. Everything from hammers and drills and saws and music and traffic going by and everything else under the sun. So there can be a lot of construction debris, a lot of construction noise. There could be nails in the middle of the road that your tires may hit. Now, if you are one of the first people to buy in a new construction community, you want to strategically pick your lot if noise and all the other things that I mentioned are going to bother you. Pick a lot that is going to have the least amount of impact for the least amount of time. Another con related to the construction is, of course, there's a lot of construction workers. They have to have cars, they have to park them somewhere, so the streets can be blocked at times, and that can be a little frustrating. Another risk of being one of the first people to buy in a new construction community is the potential of a low appraisal. Now, the builder may make some concessions for that, knowing that you're going out on a limb and trusting them and being one of the first people to buy in that community. They may have also done some extensive research and maybe priced it below what other homes are appraising for. You're going to want to make sure that you're working with somebody that has a good idea of what new homes are appraising for in the area, what they've been selling for, so that you don't run into this particular issue. Keep in mind that builder's rep, they may be the nicest person ever, but they are there to represent the builder's best interests. So it is advised for you to have your own representation in this transaction. If you're working with someone who's not a super experienced builder and maybe they're just putting in a new community and they've only got a couple floor plans, you may run into an issue where maybe they didn't think through a floor plan really well and maybe they missed out on some things. This could be to your benefit in a way as well. They might put some higher quality materials in your home, but it's just a little bit of an uncertainty and a little bit of a risk and something you might want to know about, and you want to get an idea of your builder's reputation before building with them. Here in Greenville, we have red clay as our soil. So if you're building in a new construction community, you're gonna see a lot of that, and that can end up in the roads and end up literally everywhere. That's something you might wanna take into consideration, especially if you're one of the first people to move into a community. And my last point is actually probably a multitude of points, but overall, there is some potential for some loss of money. The first thing I'll say is at the end of a community, builders will do closeout sales from time to time if the community has been moving slower. Now, if this community's taken 2-3 years to build, the likelihood of the first person buying compared to the last person buying and that cost being cheaper for the last person is probably slim to none. That first person that purchased in the community is probably going to get the best deal and incentive. But it's just something to know about. Secondly, if you buy in a community that for whatever reason is having really slow sales, they got to start reducing prices, then potentially maybe you bought at the higher end of the neighborhood. I don't see that very often, especially not recently, but that is a factor. That is something that happened in the 2007-2008 timeframe. Which leads me to the last point of all of this. There were several communities back in 07 and 08 where the builder had started the community and the builder went out of business and was unable to finish. And because there was such a large housing surplus already, no builders would take on those lots. So that just left a bunch of homeowners where there was plans to be 200, 500, 1,000 homes, and they were just left kind of sitting out there on their own, and they never got the full value of what they expected that neighborhood to be. They might not have even gotten the amenities that they expected in that neighborhood, and overall lowered the value from what they purchased it at. So there is a risk of being the first to move into a neighborhood. There's also a reward. Just like anything in life, typically the things that have the highest risk also have the highest potential reward. I think you need to know about all these different factors, and I think you should probably talk to someone who's an expert in new construction in your area so that you can ensure that you have the best guidance and advice to picking the best builder and community for your needs. So I'm curious, in the comments down below, I'd love to know who are the people who are brave enough to be the first people to buy in a community, and who are the people that would never consider doing it. I'd love to hear the comments and the feedback of what everyone has to say about this video.